As we grow older, our priorities begin to shift. We stop chasing after things that don't matter and start focusing on what truly brings us happiness and peace. For seniors, especially those aged 65 and above, life is no longer about rushing or proving something to the world. Instead, it becomes about cherishing moments, protecting emotional health, and finding joy in the simple things. But what happens when certain people in your life start taking away that peace? What happens when someone, even a family member, drains your energy or makes you feel like you're not good enough? That's what we're here to talk about today. So give this video a thumbs up, grab your coffee, and listen carefully to this life wisdom teachings. I want you to write down this affirmation: my old age will be filled with joy and universe blessings, not with cruel people. Affirm these words. Now, these are the 5 types of people you must avoid in old age, even if they are family. The first type is what I call the manipulator. These people know how to take advantage of your kindness. They often come across as helpless or in need of your support, which can make you feel obligated to help them. At first, they might seem genuinely appreciative. Maybe they ask you for a small favor, like picking something up for them or helping them sort out an issue. It seems harmless, and because you're a caring person, you agree. But then it happens again and again. Before you know it, you realize that every time they call or visit, they want something from you. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine sitting in your favorite chair, enjoying a cup of tea and reading a good book. Suddenly, your phone rings. It's your cousin who says they're in trouble. They need a ride to the store, or they're short on money, or they can't figure out how to pay a bill. You feel a little guilty because you don't want to leave your comfortable spot, but you get up and help anyway. After all, it's just one favor, right? But what happens when this becomes a pattern? What happens when that cousin keeps calling you for every little thing? You start to notice that they never call to check on you or see how you're doing. They only call when they need something. Manipulators have a way of making you feel like you owe them something. They might even say things like, "You're the only one I can count on," or, "If you don't help me, I don't know what I'll do." These words can tug at your heartstrings, especially if you've spent your life being a person who helps others. But over time, this kind of relationship can leave you feeling drained and resentful. It's important to recognize when someone is using you. Manipulators often rely on guilt to get what they want. They frame their needs as emergencies, even when they're not. For example, they might say they need a loan to pay a bill, but then you find out later that they spent the money on something unnecessary. Or they might ask you to run an errand for them, only for you to discover they could have easily done it themselves. The thing about manipulators is that they rarely give anything back. Their focus is on what they can get from you, not how they can support or appreciate you. This one-sided dynamic can take a toll on your emotional well-being. Instead of feeling loved and valued, you start to feel like you're being used, and that's not what your golden years should be about. So, how do you handle a manipulator? Set clear boundaries. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your time, energy, and peace of mind. For example, if someone is always asking for favors, you can say, "I'm sorry, but I'm not able to help this time." You don't need to explain yourself or give excuses. Your time and energy are precious, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting them. Ask yourself, does this person make me feel happy and supported, or do they leave me feeling tired and stressed? If the answer is negative, it might be time to distance yourself. This doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your life completely, but you can limit how much time and energy you give them. For example, if they call asking for a favor, you can let it go to voicemail and call back later when it's more convenient for you. Or, if they want to visit, you can set a time limit for the visit so you don't feel overwhelmed. The key is to take control of the situation instead of letting them dictate your time and energy. One thing to keep in mind is that saying no to someone else often means saying yes to yourself. When you set boundaries with a manipulator, you're not being cruel or selfish. You're simply prioritizing your own well-being. And that's something everyone deserves, especially in old age. The next type of person you must avoid in old age is the self-absorbed individual, often referred to as the narcissist. These people are consumed by their own needs, desires, and achievements. They rarely, if ever, think about the feelings, needs, or experiences of others. In every interaction, their focus is on themselves, and they expect the same from you. Imagine this scenario. You're sitting down with a family member or friend to share a cherished memory. It's a story that has brought you joy over the years, and you want to pass it on. But as soon as you start, they interrupt. "Oh, that reminds me of the time I..." And suddenly the conversation is all about them. You try to steer it back to your story, but they interrupt again, barely acknowledging what you're trying to share. Over time, you realize this is a pattern. Every interaction revolves around their life, their achievements, and their problems. It's as if your presence is just a backdrop for their performance. Self-absorbed people, especially narcissists, crave attention and validation. They don't necessarily mean to hurt others, but their constant focus on themselves can leave you feeling invisible and undervalued. For seniors, this can be especially painful. After a lifetime of rich experiences, you deserve to share your stories, wisdom, and feelings with people who truly listen and care. But a narcissist offers little room for this kind of connection. It's important to understand that narcissists are not always loud or boastful. Some can be very charming and charismatic, which makes it easy to overlook their self-centered tendencies at first. They might draw you in with their wit or their seemingly genuine interest in your life. But as time goes on, you start to notice that their interest is superficial. They might ask about your day, but before you can finish answering, they've redirected the conversation to themselves. One of the most challenging aspects of dealing with self-absorbed individuals is their lack of empathy. They have a hard time putting themselves in someone else's shoes. This means they might dismiss your struggles, minimize your achievements, or ignore your needs altogether. For example, you might share a personal challenge, hoping for some encouragement or understanding, only to hear them say something like, "That's nothing compared to what I've been through." Their response leaves you feeling unheard and unsupported. Narcissists have a tendency to dominate conversations and interactions, so it's important to assert yourself. For instance, if they interrupt you while you're sharing a story, you can say, "I'd like to finish what I was saying." This lets them know that your voice matters and that you won't allow them to overshadow you. Another strategy is to limit how much time and energy you invest in the relationship. For example, if a narcissist in your life tends to drain your energy, consider limiting your interactions to shorter visits or phone calls. This allows you to maintain a relationship without feeling overwhelmed. The third type of person you must avoid in old age is the critic. These are individuals who seem to thrive on pointing out what's wrong with you, your choices, or your way of life. They may disguise their words as helpful advice or concern, but their constant negativity can chip away at your self-esteem and peace of mind. For seniors, this type of relationship can be especially damaging because it undermines the freedom and joy you should be experiencing in your later years. Imagine this. You're excited to share a new hobby you've taken up, like painting or gardening, with a friend or family member. Instead of encouragement, they respond with something like, "Are you sure you should be spending your time on that?" Or, "That doesn't look very professional." Suddenly, your excitement turns to self-doubt. Their words may seem small, but they carry a heavy weight. Over time, these comments add up, creating a cloud of negativity that hangs over you. Critics often have a pattern of finding fault in everything you do. It could be a remark about the way you dress, a comment on how you spend your time, or even an opinion about the food you like to eat. Their remarks might sound something like, "Why are you wearing that color? It doesn't suit you," or "You're still doing that. Isn't it a waste of time?" These words, no matter how casually spoken, can leave you questioning yourself and your decisions. The truth is, most critics are projecting their own insecurities onto others. Their need to point out flaws in you often stems from their dissatisfaction with themselves. Understanding this can help you take their comments less personally. However, knowing this doesn't always soften the sting of their words, especially if you've spent your life valuing their opinion. It's also worth noting that critics aren't always loud or aggressive. Some are subtle, using quiet, underhanded comments that are easy to overlook at first. For example, they might say, "I guess that's fine if it makes you happy," or "I wouldn't do it that way, but you do you." These kinds of remarks might seem harmless on the surface, but they carry an undertone of judgment that can still hurt. One effective way to handle criticism is to filter it. Not all feedback is worth your attention. When someone offers a critical comment, ask yourself, is this constructive? Does it come from a place of care and respect? If the answer is no, let it go. For example, if someone criticizes your hobbies, you might respond with, "I appreciate your opinion, but this is something that brings me joy." This simple statement reaffirms your choices and subtly sets a boundary. Another strategy is to shift the focus of the conversation. Critics often thrive on negativity, so redirecting the dialogue to something positive can neutralize their impact. For instance, if a family member criticizes your cooking, you might say, "I'm glad you mentioned that. What's your favorite dish? Maybe we can cook it together next time." This approach not only diffuses the tension, but also puts the focus back on them, where critics often prefer it. The fourth type of person you must avoid in old age is the irresponsible individual. These are people who refuse to take accountability for their actions and consistently shift their burdens onto others, often expecting you to fix their problems or clean up their messes. While compassion and kindness are virtues, dealing with irresponsible people can leave you feeling emotionally and financially drained. For seniors especially, this can disrupt the peace and balance you've worked so hard to achieve. Imagine this. A family member frequently finds themselves in financial trouble. They come to you for help, pleading with you to lend them money to pay rent or cover some overdue bills. They promise it's a one-time situation and that they'll change their ways. You believe them because you want to help and you care about their well-being. But then it happens again and again. Over time, you realize that this isn't a one-time issue. It's a pattern. No matter how much you help, they keep making the same mistakes, and you're left to pick up the pieces. Irresponsible people often appeal to your sense of duty, especially if they are younger relatives or people you've cared for in the past. They might say things like, "You've always been there for me," or "If you don't help, who will?" These statements tug at your heartstrings and make you feel like you have no choice but to step in. But the reality is, constantly rescuing someone from their own decisions doesn't just drain your energy, it also prevents them from learning and growing. Irresponsibility isn't just about financial matters. It can also manifest in other areas, like poor decision-making, neglecting responsibilities, or creating unnecessary chaos. For example, a friend might repeatedly ask you to babysit their grandchildren at the last minute because they didn't plan ahead. Or a sibling might expect you to handle family disputes because they refuse to address the issues themselves. In every case, their lack of accountability becomes your problem, leaving you stressed and frustrated. So, how do you deal with irresponsible people? The first step is to recognize that their actions are not your responsibility. While it's natural to want to help those you care about, it's important to understand your limits. You are not obligated to fix problems that aren't yours to solve. For example, if someone consistently asks for financial help, you might respond with, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you with that. Perhaps you can explore other options." This not only sets a boundary, but also encourages them to take ownership of their situation. Another key step is to resist the urge to feel guilty for saying no. Irresponsible people often use guilt as a tactic, suggesting that your refusal to help means you don't care. But the truth is, your care can manifest in other, healthier ways. For instance, instead of giving them money, you might offer advice or help them find resources to address their issues. This way, you're supporting them without taking on their burdens. Setting boundaries is crucial when dealing with irresponsible individuals. For example, if someone frequently asks for last-minute favors, you might say, "I need more notice to be able to help. In the future, please let me know ahead of time." This communicates your expectations and allows you to maintain control over your time and energy. It's also important to consider the long-term effects of constantly bailing someone out. While it might feel good to help in the moment, enabling irresponsible behavior only perpetuates the cycle. By stepping back, you give them the opportunity to face the consequences of their actions and, hopefully, learn from their mistakes. This can be a tough decision, especially if it's someone you care about deeply, but it's ultimately an act of love for both them and yourself. For example, if a younger family member frequently asks for money but refuses to budget or manage their finances, you might say, "I've helped you in the past, but I can't continue to do so. It's important for you to take charge of your financial situation." While this might feel uncomfortable at first, it sends a clear message that their actions have consequences. Remember that you are not responsible for fixing everything. Irresponsible people often create a sense of urgency, making you feel like you have to step in and solve their problems as soon as possible. But the truth is, their issues are not your burden to carry. By stepping back and allowing them to take responsibility for their own actions, you reclaim your energy, your peace, and your joy. The fifth type of person you must avoid in old age is the ungrateful individual. These people fail to acknowledge or appreciate the time, effort, and love you give to them. Dealing with ungrateful individuals can be emotionally draining because their lack of appreciation often makes you question your worth and the value of your contributions. In old age, when your energy and emotional well-being should be protected, such relationships can take a heavy toll. Picture this. You spend hours preparing a family meal, putting thought into every dish, hoping to bring everyone together for a warm and enjoyable evening. But instead of gratitude, you're met with complaints like, "Why didn't you make it like last time?" or "This isn't how I like it." Suddenly, the joy you felt in giving is overshadowed by their ingratitude. It's not just about the meal, it's about how little they value your effort. Ungrateful people have a way of making you feel like your kindness is a given, something they are entitled to rather than a gift. For example, you might rearrange your entire day to help a friend, only for them to act as if it was no big deal, or worse, criticize the way you helped. This behavior sends a message that your time, energy, and care are not valued. Over time, this can lead to feelings of frustration, sadness, and even resentment. One of the most hurtful aspects of dealing with ungrateful individuals is how their behavior can make you doubt yourself. You might find yourself wondering, "Did I not do enough? Should I have tried harder?" But the truth is, their ingratitude is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. Ungrateful people often fail to see the value in what others do because they are too focused on their own expectations and needs. So, how do you handle ungrateful individuals? The first step is to prioritize giving to those who genuinely value and appreciate you. For example, if you find that a particular family member never says thank you or acknowledges your efforts, consider focusing your energy on someone who does. Maybe it's a grandchild who lights up with excitement when you spend time with them, or a friend who always expresses gratitude for your support. By shifting your focus to these positive relationships, you can protect your emotional well-being and find more joy in giving. Another important step is to communicate your feelings. Sometimes people don't realize how their actions affect others. For example, you might say, "I enjoy helping you, but it would mean a lot to me if you showed a little appreciation." This opens the door for a constructive conversation and gives them a chance to change their behavior. It's also important to remind yourself of your worth. Ungrateful people can make you feel like your efforts don't matter, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, is valuable. Don't let anyone diminish the importance of what you do. Finally, embrace the power of self-care. Old age is a time to nurture yourself, physically, emotionally, and mentally. This might mean taking up a new hobby, joining a community group, or simply spending time doing things you love. By prioritizing self-care, you create a strong foundation that allows you to face challenges with resilience and grace. In conclusion, avoiding toxic individuals and fostering healthy relationships is not just about protecting your peace, it's about creating a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and meaning. You've earned the right to prioritize yourself, and every step you take toward a healthier, happier life is a testament to your strength and wisdom. If you found this content helpful and believe it can make a difference in someone else's life, don't forget to like and share this video, comment below. My old age will be filled with joy and universe blessings, not with cruel people. Until next time, stay strong. Thank you for watching.